were artists from the 2003 Artists in Residency in town at the same time. And as Rachel said, it was an idea just, well, let's utilise that. Let's have a conversation about what it is to be an artist in residence and what it is to be an artist working in a particular context. We opted not to have microphones this evening because we thought we wouldn't get a very large crowd. We have over double what we thought we had. So we'll try and shout up, but if you can't hear or we're talking very quietly, hands up or just crowd round. Our hope was tonight would be a kind of conversation as opposed to presentations. And each of the artists will talk about their work for a little while. But I thought I'd give you a little bit of background to Watershed Plus and what the ambition and where it comes from, really the context of what the programme is. But before I start, I would like to thank lots of people. Firstly, the Art Gallery of Calgary, Nate especially, for responding so quickly and saying, yeah, we will host it. Thank you very much. Randy Neeson said if I didn't thank him, he wouldn't speak to me, so Randy, thank you very much. And especially the City of Calgary, the Parks Department, the Utilities and Environment Protection Department, and of course Public Art. Without all of them, this wouldn't be happening tonight, because that's why we're all here. So, just to talk a little bit about myself for a moment, I'm Tristan Surtees, one half of Song for Song. I am the lead artist, or one of the lead artists for the Watershed Plus programme. We sort of established Watershed Plus in 2008, started beginning work on it. We brought together a multidisciplinary team of people, a social geographer, graphic designer, water engineer, an architect and another artist to respond to a commission through the Public Art programme and specifically the Water Department's art plan, which was to look at the relationship between Calgarians and their watershed. What was fantastic about that opportunity was it asked the artists to not come with what they were going to create at the end, but actually come and spend the time researching and responding to the place. We found it incredibly moving and powerful and spent a lot longer working on it than we should have done. And that's because it was so rich. It was a citywide programme looking at every aspect of water in the city, and through that multidisciplinary approach we looked at lots of different aspects of the programme. We were very fortunate, and the reason that it worked, I think, is because of the staff within Water Resources and Water Services truly embracing what it was to be an artist and what artists bring as a kind of complementary element to what they do. So we spend a lot of time talking to people who run the reservoirs or who fix the underground pipes and really trying to understand the complexity of both a visible and a hidden system of water in the city. It became apparent through that process that our relationship to water when it's in the wilderness is one that we are quite intuitive about. We know that we don't pour battery acid directly into a pond or into a lake. We take pictures of it. We take pleasure in the wilderness. But somehow when it comes into a city, unless there's a flood, there is often a little disconnect other than the river to the extended network of water throughout the city. So the department in which we're based operate the drinking water, the sanitary system and the stormwater systems. They keep the city running in a completely, often invisible way through this kind of work. So, unusually, I am an artist, a full-time artist, and I'm wearing a blazer, but I do usually not wear a blazer. But this is where my studio is. This is where Charles and I work on a day-in, day-out basis. We're embedded within strategic services of the Water Department. And what's really special about that is that often as artists you're working and looking in at something. In this instance we're working from within and looking out. And we're able to collaborate on a whole host of projects with the Water Department. So we have projects across the organisation, which include permanent projects, building projects, looking at stormwater ponds, lift stations, outfalls, all the infrastructure they build, and embedding artists on different projects. This is a core group of people in the organisation that helps select projects and decide how, when artists might come and work, what's appropriate. Artists working on design teams with water engineers, helping to deliver these kind of various different kinds of projects. And we have a multitude of different kind of initiatives, about 20 different initiatives. And tonight, when I stop rambling, we'll get on to talk about the residencies. The residencies are an important part for us of the entire programme. Instead of artists working and solving problems on design teams, artists are asked to come and respond to a city. And then we ask of them three things. One, that their work must engage with the broader public. That we ask of them to make new work in response to the context in which they are. And that they're truly responding to Calgary in this specific context. So we want it to be meaningful in their career, so they make new work, and we want it to be meaningful for the city, so it's responding to this place. Each of the artists come for around 3 months. We split that to two segments, often an in-depth research period, and then a kind of production period. And they have as much access to the things that we work with on a daily basis, the engineers, all the specialists, as we can possibly manage. They work in a multitude of ways, as you're going to see tonight, and they are all in different stages of residency. It's probably a little bit early to say, oh, here's what everybody made. There's some artists who've already begun, there are some who are about to start or just starting, and there are some who are yet to start their residencies. But we thought in that ambition to talk about working in context, now is a good time to open it to sort of public debate. I can't remember if there's another picture. Yes, please. This is where our residency space is, one of our residency spaces is. This is, if you've not been here, this is Ralph Klein Park. In there, the little speck, people try and point to it. Is inside the Parks Department education facility, and that's where our studio is based. An incredibly warm and welcoming place for an artist to work and to have a studio, and if you ever get a chance, it's just a lovely, lovely place to be, to work well. So this is one, and really responding to this context, this is a stormwater treatment cell which deals with a lot of the water from the southeast of Calgary. It's one of the largest man-made wetlands in North America. This is the studio. I'm sorry, it's not a great picture, but you can see it's I think, a lovely place to work. We're also fortunate that over recent months we've managed to extend some of the residencies to be hosted by other organisations in the city. So Spark is currently hosting Rachel in an extended residency of her work. Just so I don't yap all night long, it's my pleasure to actually introduce the person that's going to host the evening. That's Anne-Marie Cavelli. Anne-Marie is a wonderful, wonderful person. She is, I think, an outstanding observer and commentator in this city, one of the best. She originates from Portland. She is a writer, radio host, and one of the co-founders of Detox, one of which happened last night, if you're fortunate to go. And Anne-Marie, it's over to you, if that's all.
We're going to start by having presentations. Can you hear? Okay,
no, I can't hear.
We're going to start by having presentations, and then we'll have a little Q&A following. If there is ever a time when someone has a question, please shout it out, raise your hand, whatever. This is meant to be a conversation. So if you have something that, maybe not within the presentations, but after the presentations when we start the conversation where I ask questions, please throw out questions or comments that you have at that time. Mm-hmm. So first is Rachel Duckhouse.
Oh.
Go, yes.
Hello. We've kind of got 5 minutes each, and it's going to be impossible for me to say everything I want to say about what an experience I've had so far. and what I've learned and the people I've met and the way my work has changed and developed, but I'll do my best in 5 minutes. So before I arrived back home in the UK,
Can't hear.
Hello?
Can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Stand up.
Can't hear.
Stand up,
Yeah. Come close.
The work that I was making before, is that better?
Yes.
The work I was making before I came out here it was pretty much me in my studio on my own, drinking loads and loads of tea, and then just coming up with lots of ideas about how shapes fit together in kind of floating in space. So lots of works on paper, pen and ink drawings, very complex systems and networks that are just really, from my imagination, kind of intuitive drawing. And I was really kind of indirectly inspired by all the shapes and networks and systems that exist in nature, in architecture, and in human behaviour, but I was never really able to link them together. So these are just drawings that I've made within my own head, in my own space internally, and I just really wondered if there's ever going to be a way I could link my drawing and my printmaking to an external thing. And so that's really why I applied for this residency, because it gave me the opportunity for the very first time to think about how I could connect my drawing to real systems that live in an environment, or in infrastructure, which is what the Watershed Plus project is all about, and the systems of water within a city. So that's why I applied. So I was making my work here every day in my studio. This is the kind of environment that I was going to every day, and suddenly I find myself here. And this is the view at the back of the RKP studio, and as different as those two locations are, like every single thing that I knew about how I made work has pretty much changed in a very dramatic way. And the people that I've met, the conversations that I've had, the way I respond to the things that I'm seeing in a research way suddenly has changed everything. And it's actually been a lot of the conversations and the people that I've met and the generosity of people's time and knowledge and expertise within the water services and the parks departments that has really informed the work that I've made. So I just started from drawing, which is where I always begin, just loads and loads of drawings, and I found myself thinking about, after talking to people about water as an architectural structure and how it moves and how you might be able to visualise how those shapes fit together by freezing water in time and space. And so it was kind of following on from the work that I used to do, but it was suddenly about something external to the studio, which is the water systems. And this, I suddenly realised there's this whole thing of talking to the water engineers. They told me all about flow visualisation, how engineers think about water. And I started to do a lot of research, and I found a lot of common ground between my work as an intuitive drawing process and the process of water and how you might visualise it as an engineer, or as a member of the public. And so I had loads of really amazing meetings and conversations, and things just grew out of sharing knowledge between myself and all these incredible specialists. So I just started making work. That's an etching, and it kind of relates to the data I was discovering about the depth and the way water moves within the Berger River. And I got so much access to these incredible facilities, such as the wastewater treatment facility, and just trying to sketch and understand and visualise how something which is invisible and yet opaque, static and yet moving, how do you explain or visualise these patterns that are all around the city? And that was kind of what I was trying to do all the time. And I ended up making a drawing about a specific area of the Bow River. You can see that that's the photograph that I took. I did a lot of walking around, talking to people, taking photographs, doing sketches, making notes, ended up doing the drawing. You can kind of see there's the outfalls from the Bonnybrook water treatment facility coming into the Bow, and the way the water knits, or doesn't knit as it turns out, as it flows downstream, and the way the water splits between bridge piers and then comes back together, and kind of creating a set of rules within a drawing to explain how water moves. But it wasn't just this drawing that I did loads and loads of other things. Like, I've started to work in 3D, like doing little sculptures, and I've been working in plasticine and string, and at Spark I've been allowed to use laser cutting machines and vinyl cutters and a 3D printer, and it's, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on apart from this particular thing I'm showing you. This amazing thing happened where I was given a show at Truck Gallery, which was an incredible opportunity. Randy let me paint on the floor, which was, I've never this big, and suddenly I'm getting the chance to do paintings on an architectural surface in a space. And yeah, it's a big, huge step for me, and really exciting. So I don't want to talk for too long, but I just wanted to say that I thought I'd left that drawing behind and I was going to move on to other things, but as soon as I finished the drawing, there was the flood, and it kind of changed the way I felt about that work, because suddenly that work didn't really exist. It was a historical document, and people started asking me about how does that work relate now you've had this flood? Because the engineers had told me all about the 100-year event, and I kind of disregarded it because I wanted to make a drawing that was relevant to the river that people saw every day. So I chose to think about the average flow, and then suddenly people aren't thinking about the average flow anymore. People are talking about the flood and about the 100-year event. So I revisited these photographs that I'd taken, you know, in the winter time to get a sense of where the bridges are within the water. And I looked at them again, and only recently I went back to this, because this isn't the kind of work I normally do, and it was quite difficult to know how to respond to something that's had such a big effect on so many people have lost their homes and their possessions, and I'm not used to having to think about things like that. So that was difficult. But I went back, and you can see, like, this image that I never thought I'd show anyone because it's just a research image, it's suddenly turned into an important thing. Now you can see where there were 4 bridge piers, the river's carved itself a whole new shape, and now there's 6. And so how do I revisit that drawing and maybe do something about that to represent this new shape? And did you change that? Thanks. So this is I wasn't expecting this to happen. Yeah, so this is a before and after. This is a before and after of another particular piece of that river. You can see where there was 2 trees, now there is 1. This entire bank has disappeared, and you can see, like, my picture before had been kind of graceful and there was a rhythm to it, and it was kind of calm and gentle, and you can see, like, you suddenly realise with the flood the potential of the energy and the violence that's within that water flow. You can see what it's done. And yeah, that's kind of my last image really. There's a lot more to say, but I kind of feel a little bit like that post there. It's kind of what the residency has done to my way of thinking about so many things.
Can you hear me okay back? Yeah. I'm going to talk on behalf of Nick Miller and myself. We've just started the second phase of our residency. We were here in April, pre-flood, and now we're back post-flood. So we haven't really made any work yet here, and we've done lots of research, we've thought, and we've tried a few things out, but we're just really about to start doing that. So really what I'm going to do today is talk about what brought us here really in our previous practice. And I've got a script because I'll ramble on and go way over time, so excuse me if I'm reading from this. We've been working together as artists for about 8 years. We don't work in a specific medium, like Rachel. We don't specialise in printing or printmaking or video, but we always start with a response to a place or a context. In other words, our work is context or place specific, not medium specific. The work we make tends to be impermanent, and we frequently use ephemeral media such as performance, projected imagery and sound. And our work often takes the form of actions or performances or interventions in the public domain. So very different background to Rachel really. We describe our approach as critical spatial practice, which is a description borrowed from architectural curator Jane Rendell. And what we mean by this is that we're interested in trying to question, unpick or unsettle our relationships with the spaces and places we build, shape and inhabit. We want to explore and reflect critically and imaginatively on the ways that humans and our environments are intertwined. In the last few years, the focus of our practice has been on interrelations between humanity and water. So clearly the Watershed Residency felt like it was tailor-made for us. But we've been looking in particular at urban waterways in post-industrial cities, and specifically at the River Clyde in Glasgow, Scotland, which is this image you can see there. And you can see from that, I don't need to say anything about how different that river looks like to the Bow. The Clyde is a river that was heavily industrialised, but now has very little activity and no obvious role in the city, since heavy industry in Glasgow declined, mostly shipbuilding was the main industry there in the 60s and 70s. So I'd like to talk quite quickly through a couple of projects that we've done on the Clyde to give you a sense of our approach, although we don't quite know, we think it's going to be significantly different here. These three images are of a project we did in 2009 called River Stop. And it was an installation in a kiosk on the banks of the river that took place during Glasgow's River Festival. The kiosk was designed as a cafe, but it had closed by the time we used it due to lack of custom. There were several components to the work. First of all, we invited people to send us postcards from around the world of cities with rivers with boats on them. And we displayed them in the kiosk window. That's the image you can see in the bottom left. It might be a wee bit small, sorry about that. At the time of the installation, there was pretty much no river traffic on the Clyde, which has changed a little bit since then, but not significantly. We also collected water from the source of the Clyde, bottled it, and handed it out to passers-by. We'd had the water tested to ensure it was safe to drink, but notably, only people not from Glasgow actually drank the water. That tells you a lot about people's relationships. So really, in a way, these small interventions were intended to stimulate conversations and reflections on people's relationship with the river. And this is an image of the top is the source of the Clyde, where the water just kind of seeps out of the ground, and below is an image of the source of the Bow, which we got taken to visit very early in our residency. So I think the picture speaks for itself, really. The second work I'd like to show was called Bridging Part 1, and it was on a much larger scale than River Stop. Bridging was an attempt to lace together the banks of the Clyde using over 2 kilometres of thick mooring rope. We planned to cross the river 11 times, mirroring the 11 bridges that exist in the city centre. And this is a visualisation of a piece, it's not the actual piece itself. The rope was pulled back and forth across the river by a workboat and tension-drowned bollards on the facing quaysides that remain as relics of Glasgow's maritime heritage. We worked with a company called Offshore Workboats Limited to realise the performance for installation. In reality, contrary to our visualisation, on a wet, cold, grey day in November, our vision was much harder to achieve than we'd expected. We only managed 5 crossings. We also became acutely aware of the force of the river and the weather, and how we had to work with and against those phenomena. We became particularly aware of the tidal nature of the Clyde. It actually rises and falls up to about 6 metres in the city centre, and also how difficult this made our task. And this realisation led to the final piece of work I want to talk about. This was a piece called High Slack, Low Slack, High that we did in 2012. Through bridging, we discovered that people in Glasgow had very little perception of the tidal nature of the River Clyde, which would have once played a major part in the lives of those working on the river. We were interested in trying to reintroduce the natural flows and rhythms of the tide into the everyday routines and patterns of movement that exist in Glasgow today. So we invited 4 other artists to join us to make sound works that responded to the tide cycles of the Clyde. The top image is of a tide table where you can see the rise and fall of the tide over a week and recorded in a graphic form. And the bottom image is of one of the artists' work that she made and it's a score, a musical score, based on this tidal rise and fall. It was made by an artist called Hannah Tuliki. Hannah's sound piece was performed by 2 women and 2 men on opposite sides of the river, singing a kind of call and response through megaphones, and you can see that on the left-hand side. Nick and I made a sound piece by recording ship's hooters and repitching them according to the phases of the tide over 1 week. So we repitched them to correspond again to this rise and fall. The sound piece, a kind of ship's horn fanfare, was played using portable sound systems at bus stops and train stations throughout the city, greeting passengers as they disembarked from trains and buses, and interweaving the natural cycles of the tide with the everyday routine of the contemporary city. So that's really all I wanted to say. It just kind of gives you a bit of context to how we might be approaching our residency here. I'm sure we'll have lots to say about that later.
Of the Broken City Lab Artist Collective.
Should we also stand, maybe?
Yes. Yes.
Giving you guys a standing ovation.
So we're based out of Windsor, Ontario, and we just started our residency here last week. So this is just phase 1, so we're just absorbing all the information right now. So we thought that since tonight's discussion was about residencies, we would talk about the residencies that we've hosted and been a part of, and are a part of now as well. So
we should do a brief overview of where Windsor is in relation to the rest of Canada and where it is in relation to international
Please speak up. Please speak louder.
Okay.
Hello, yes, way back here.
Hi, how you doing?
Way back here.
So Windsor, Ontario is the home of an international border crossing between the states. United States of America and Canada, and what's separating it, instead of just a land border, it's actually a 500-meter wide river called the Detroit River, and it separates, basically, it's a point where Canada is actually underneath the states, which is kind of bizarre, but the only thing separating us is basically 500 meters of water and very, very strict border control on either side.
So I guess what Josh was saying is that we have a very specific relationship with our river in Windsor. And just to give a little bit of context to what we do, we're an artist collective that works very heavily with communities and public-based ideas. So we're very much so interested in the interactions between communities and especially Windsor, where we're from, but also other cities. So that's kind of what we're bringing here, at least in the beginning part. So this residency, the Storefront Residency for Social Innovation, was something that happened before I joined Broken City Lab, so I'm going to let Josh talk about it briefly.
Okay, so what this was basically our first chance at actually being given the autonomy to actually work out of a storefront space along one of the main roads in Windsor called Fletcher Avenue, or Fletcher Street. And what we're allowed to do here is we're donated 3 storefront spaces, which is sort of unheard of most of the time, but we are able to get these for free, and we spent a couple months receiving submissions for artists and residents, and then we went through them all and decided that I think we landed on 25 or 24 artists who came in staggered periods, so a few of them would come in at the same time. Based on space requirements, we kind of could only have maybe 6 or 7 at a time. So each one had a very different project. Like you can see the one that was previous to this there was sod laid in the space. That was basically an attempt to make a park or a parkade in one of the spaces. This is 2 projects side by side. One from the sweater factory where she took donated clothing and she basically unraveled it and made an entirely new piece of fabric and then created sweaters out of these. This project here was actually.
This is an artist learning how to gamble because Windsor is really well known for its casino. That's basically all.
So she learned how to gamble, and then she
won a bunch of money.
won about 50 or between $50 and $60, and she donated it to a local charity, which was nice.
And so for our personal practice, we like to work in text a lot, and sometimes it's temporary and sometimes it's permanent. In this context, for the Art Gallery of Windsor's biennial, we were able to write a large text piece on their parking lot because it's now torn up, so it was temporary. But permanent enough that it was actually caught by Google satellites, so for the next 5 years, this text is plastered over Windsor. So it says, as of 2011, September 21st, we are alive and well, which was the date that the biennial opened, but it was also kind of a framing context about like where Windsor was at and how we were kind of feeling as this post-industrial city that almost got its hit as bad as Detroit, but not as bad. So we like to do a lot of just really, like I was saying before, community-based stuff. So sometimes we just gather as many people who would like to come out with us and do quick projects like this, which is this is a project where we wrote onto City Hall's building directly, like our thoughts on like all the things that we thought they should change or listen to more, like the community, because at this point they were building this really huge aquatic center in Windsor, and a lot of the residents were really against it, but they weren't really taking us into consideration, so we thought we would bring our comments to them directly.
So the aquatic center was actually being built at the space where we did the text piece on the parking lot. So that's why it was being torn up. It's almost completed now. I think this fall it's going to be completed. It's a massive international aquatic center that shut down, I think, 4 or 5 other smaller like community pools, which is not great.
So most recently we actually were lucky enough to get Ontario Trillium funding to have our own space for the next 2 years, and we moved in about a year ago. And this is an amazing space for us to be able to host a lot of artists to come in and do residencies. Not as big and amazing as this one, but small enough for Windsor. So these are some of the other Broken Sea Lab members that we work with: Danielle Sabelli, Kevin Eklund, and Rosina Ricardo. So a lot of the types of things that happen in this space are basically like anything goes. If you want to host a workshop, if you want to have an exhibition, if you want to do a residency, you're coming from out of town. If you want to just come in and hang out and talk, basically, we're really open to everything and anything in this space. So these are just examples of the types of workshops that we've hosted or other artists have hosted, and kind of activating that space. And this was an exhibition opening for architects that are actually going between Windsor and Detroit. So they had their MFA exhibition in our space.
So we balance it between our own programming and our own ongoing workshops and things like that, and also having artists coming from out of town and artists who are fairly close, even from Detroit, come into residencies. We made sure to get a space that had, a bedroom and cooking facility and things like that, so that we could have people over for long periods of time at a low cost, which is kind of one of our big goals and our mandate for the space.
This last thing that I want to talk about really quickly is the one weekend residency that we hosted, which was a writing residency, and was an opportunity for people to come for 2 days over the weekend to just write about art and social practice and art in community-based context. And what was really interesting about this residency was that we never met any of the residents. We kind of left them the instructions in this box and gave them the key code to get into our space, and kind of just gave them that space for the weekend to do their thing. And the result was amazing. We're actually putting the book together now, so that was a really different type of residency for us, but it turned out to be really cool and successful. So those are the kinds of things that we think about as a collective, and we're really excited to be here, and are just like, can't wait to see what happens over the next year.
It's only been about 6 days so far, so we're still sinking our teeth in it. But thanks again for everyone.
Yeah.
Mosher. I'm from Calgary. I just finished my master's at Glasgow School of Art. I've been back for about a month and a half now. I'll be doing the Watershed residency with artist, friend, collaborator, Rory Middleton. He's not here, obviously. Yeah, so I'll just do a brief introduction into my kind of solo work, and then maybe I think there's a few slides of Rory's works, and then finish it off with just the last project Rory and I worked on. This was a work I just finished for the degree show. It's called Double Block and Bleed. That's in a decommissioned tank from this building called the Glue Factory. It was a production tank. It stored glue. A lot of horses died there, I've been told. But yeah, there's glue. That's the production tank for glue. But it was this fixture within the building that had a lot of history. People were quite attached to it, and just the way it looked. So what I did with this, I sandblasted it, or used actually blast cleaned this tank, sections of it, and restored it back to like its raw material self. So it's just certain sections of that, like the dark bit, that's the raw materials. And I collected all that matter from that process and stored it inside the tank. It was an act that I didn't really tell anybody, or wasn't really described. So I wanted to generate this myth behind this kind of industrial process, something with a lot of activity. So just see what happens, have like conversations with people walk around the object, and just see what happens in terms of like the work kind of creating a life beyond, well, with me gone. So, and beside that, I have a video that was also part of that work. There's some more photos of that. So just the band on the side is where I didn't blast it, I had to hire out this process. It's quite a complex process where they use baking soda crystals to strip the paint off. All of it clumps to the ground, and then because it's water soluble and just drains everywhere throughout the factory, it's quite easy to clean up. But you can imagine the amount of paint that fell to the ground. It was quite heavy, so it was a nice way for me to clean up and just use the tank, kind of restore its function in a way. So yeah, you can see, and it was just a little trickle coming out of it. People could walk up, and you could just see it was just rising above the brim. Yeah, that's a cool. This was a video that was showing. It was a minute 30 long loop. It was a calibration block about this size that fell, making contact with a marble slab. I used a high-speed camera to film that, so it was filmed at 12,500 frames per second. It was just about a relationship between these two materials, something like a calibration block that part of a kit that engineers use, very precisely engineered, and also with these blocks comes a lot of data, and they're signed off. So in the eyes of like data and those gentlemen and women, it's a pure material. But and with that, there's a lot of like quality control with these objects. So if you drop something like that, you're compromising its integrity, and that's what I wanted to film with the high-speed camera, kind of quantifying something that's unquantifiable, but offering the promise that you might see something through this technology. And as that fell and made contact with the marble slab, nothing happened really. But it was a really poetic kind of gesture for that whole process. And the marble's connection with that object is marble has these visible impurities, so it's something pure hitting something with visible impurities, and quite sculptural as well. Marble has a lot of history, architectural and sculptural. This was another project. It's quite dark. Last year, this project's called Lens Scan. I hired a laser light projector to just scan a glen. If you can picture it, it's just I just projected a vertical green line that move back and forth within a glen. But using a long exposure with a camera, as that light moved back, it would light up a certain section of the landscape. And so I started this. It was a 2-hour event. I invited people from the course to come out. Left it up to them if they were curious at all to engage with landscape, and also just come see something quite spectacular. So a lot of people did show up. You can kind of see the road off the side there. People noticed it off the road and were pulling over and coming to check it out. It's spooked. There's some more photos. That's a video still, so you can see like the green line and the people off to the left there. That's where we had the laser light projector, and that was just a sequence that lasted 2 hours. Started at sunset and went till dark, so I was able to capture like the dusk and then complete black. So the project did exist on site, but it also had life afterwards as well, like through the documentation. So as the light traversed from side to side, you can see it snake along the landscape for audiences at the bottom of the glen. I wasn't able to see that aspect. I was up kind of directing things, making sure I got the money shot. Didn't want to waste all that money. You can see it there. That's another shot. And that's a perspective from the ground. You can just see it. It's kind of, it's almost like, it's very simple. Like it's just using light and photography, but it's also, I think it kind of talks about mapping and remote sensing is a very complex system. I don't know what I'm referencing, but yeah, it can also work in this aspect. This was really nice work. We had an exhibition at the New Gallery last year called Talisman. This is site-specific work at the time, and then luckily through the New Gallery we were able to reconsider that work within a gallery context, and we took that object and moved it into the gallery. That object is a pane of glass about 6 feet in diameter, and it's housed in a mechanism that we got an engineer to kind of designed it so that the glass would spin very slowly, half an inch per second, I think. So it's slowly rotating in the landscape. The idea is from 2001: Space Odyssey. Stanley Kubrick used this film technique to simulate weightlessness by attaching your pen to a piece of glass and just having a camera in front of it, and 2 men on either side rotating the glass to simulate that, zero gravity. We took that idea and kind of made it a bit complex and installed it in this sci-fi landscape of the Badlands. This is up by Trumpeller. There's another image of it there. And this is in the New Gallery. It was operating while people came in, so it was slowly spinning for the duration of the gallery. We also, in relation to this work, we got a friend of ours to compose some music for it. And we had a video in a way to bring the landscape back to the gallery. We set up a record player. I don't think I have that image, but set up a turntable in the Badlands, went back to the site, and just had it spinning. And that record player uses the same mechanics as the Talisman, just like these kind of pulleys and wheels, very simple. But this time it's lying down, and even the material, where the record was lying on the turntable, that was made of glass. Just a nice relationship between those 2 objects. And the music was by Duncan Marcus. He's a Glasgow-based artist and a member of the Phantom Band. He composed this music going with the sci-fi element, using B minor. He told us that was considered the cosmic tone. So you just have to believe in that. That's fine. And then, so what he did with that cosmic tone is he played 2 chords off his guitar at the same time, and as they resonate, they cancel out and decay. And I thought that was a really nice relationship to the work and in response to the work, asking another artist to be a part of this what we're going to develop here. For the residency, I'm not really sure what we're going to do. Something quite spectacular. An idea we've been holding on for a while is the third landscape. It's kind of this landscape that exists after humans' interaction with landscape. This could be like little ecosystems that exist in like the ditch, or just like abandoned structures. Really thinking of ways to maybe bring that kind of these spaces to the front and kind of bypass all the good stuff like mountains. And that's it. Thanks.
That's a nice, round, wide girth of work. It's really interesting. I thought I'd start by just reading a quote that I found about Watershed, and just because it kind of put in my mind what this residency might be about. And then I'll start with a large question, kind of break it down for each of you, so you can kind of address it however you wish. You can address the large question or the small one. Okay? But the quote is, "Watershed Plus is a way of working that aims to develop awareness and pleasure in the environment, not by changing water management practice, nor developing a uniform visual language, but rather by creating a climate of opportunity for water initiatives to build an emotional connection between people and the watershed." So I felt like for me that had put into the context is what this residency is supposed to do, how it's supposed to engage. And in talking just about residencies in general, I think that the big overarching question is, the Watershed Plus residency is quite broad. There's the requirements, as Kristen talked about, where there's a need to make new work, engage with water specialists, and engage with citizens in a way that makes sense for your practice. So I guess I'm asking, what attracted you to this residency? And some of you touched on it slightly, but what was the attraction to this residency as opposed to other kinds of residencies? I'm trying to get the context of what makes this residency specific to what it is. So, Josh and Eva, we can start with you too. And you talked about your neighborhood spaces, which is residencies that you've done. You've brought other artists to you. When you do a residency yourself, what's different? And then also, adding to that, Josh, you didn't talk about this, but I think you did a residency here in Calgary in 2011. So maybe with respect to that residency, what might be different with it from the one that you're jumping into now?
So the last residency we did in 2011 was with Truck Gallery, and it was based on a proposal that we submitted a few months before we came. So what we're doing is pretty concrete before we even showed up. So that's a major difference between these two things. This, we have a period of research, a period of like feeling out the place and kind of responding to individual things that we come across. But with that, it was a proposal that was in, and we were able to sort of massage parts of it in different ways, but that one, so there's a few different smaller things we did in that residency. There was a projection where we took the truck camper. Camper is an acronym for something I don't really remember. Temporary art, mobile, something. Yeah. So we took that and we basically hooked up the projector to, actually no, we didn't put it on the top. We took it out and we actually put it near the camper and kind of projected near it. But we did a projection on a building near one of the parks that was, it was basically, we had a laptop open, we had a Max MSP patch, which is kind of a programming language where you can type in sentences and phrases and then it would show up like designed for you in the perfect kind of method for projecting onto a wall. So we had people stop by and basically answer a few questions on the fly and then turn that into a projection where, you know, people in the next few blocks could see. So we did that, and then there was an open forum on Stephen Avenue where we basically had the truck again and we made a fake kind of Calgary timeline. So we had like a bunch of masonite boards that we painted with chalkboard paint, and then we created a, you know, inception of Calgary to present, and then people kind of filled in things that were, turned out to be mostly fiction, which is kind of the interesting part. People made a lot of things up. So with that, it was, I mean, most of that stuff was already planned before we came here, so that's one of the big differences between the two.
The earlier residency was all planned, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we had maybe a day or two to kind of feel out the place, kind of use that to inspire what we were doing. But for this residency, we're starting really from scratch, and it's kind of exciting.
Yeah, so the time adhering is a bit of an element then, the fact that it's longer?
Yeah, I think the fact that we have so much time to kind of like soak things up.
Yeah.
Not that we didn't have time to soak things up to the last residency, but we were just afraid we weren't going to get the work done in time, so we wanted to kind of start as soon as possible and get that going. But with this, it's kind of expected, or like it's built into sort of the framework that that's actually okay.
Yeah.
It's actually okay to take time and relax and look at things and draw things and make notes. So.
Anything as far as responding to hosting a residency versus doing one? Is there a difference? Maybe not.
I guess the role, yeah, the role's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rules switch. I mean, when you're hosting a residency, you're kind of, you're tasked with all the kind of admin stuff. You need to make sure the artist has what they need and make sure you get all the permits and whatever they need with the city and all that kind of stuff. Whereas when you're the resident, you kind of are asking for those things or like finding out if it can be done.
But yeah. So let me ask just a quick, what was the thing that most excited you about getting this residency? What did you say, oh, I want to submit for this because?
I think for me it was the fact that it was completely open to new ways of thinking about the area. And I like to start from that. I find that not daunting at all. I find that a lot more comforting than starting with a big financial plan.
Yeah, I think for me it's that plus the time and also the interest of the water, because usually our work is just based around the urban space and the people in it, but bringing in the water aspect. I mean, like you mentioned, you've got the Watershed River and the relationship we have with it, but then also like we don't usually really think about it, so to come here and have that kind of be the basis of our research is really exciting and interesting.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to move to Nick and Minty for a minute. This is your first residency, as I understand, so I don't have one to back on, but I was curious, you talked a bit about this in your discussion, Minty, but the first impressions that you might have had about the Bow River and how it might be different from the River Clyde. And you talked a bit about context and how place makes a difference. Do you have thoughts on just first impressions, what this river might be different than the other river that you studied?
I can't speak. It's just sometimes I go on a bit. So knowing it was only 5 minutes, it seemed like a sensible thing for me to do. She's quite precise than I am. Yeah, I mean, I think Minty sort of, in a way, really kind of showed that up in what she was in the introduction to our work. But it's fundamentally different at on first impressions. It's fundamentally different, the Clyde and the Bow. The Clyde is a culverted canal, basically. It is still a river, but every aspect of it through the city is manufactured for a purpose, for an industrial purpose. What I think has been really interesting, though, coming to Calgary, and as I say, the first impressions, you look at this beautiful river going through the city that absolutely appears natural. It appears that it's just doing its thing. The city's sort of gone around it, but it's not really interfered with it especially. But then, of course, and this goes to sort of what Josh was saying about the way these residencies have been set up, we're not here to make first impressions. We're here to really sort of look at stuff and approach what we're seeing with our particular angle within our practice and our particular concerns that we have at the moment. And then when you start to really look at the river, this river is working in a way just as hard, in fact in some ways harder than the Clyde. I think that thing about the drinking is really fundamental. People in Glasgow would not drink the Clyde, regardless of the fact that it came from the source and was tested. They will not drink it because the image of that river is nothing to do with drinking. It's nothing to do with purity. It's to do with industrial process that happened within the city. It would be great if it could. I mean, people do row on it and stuff in the Upper Clyde, and there are big differences between where it is in the city and where it is nearer its source. But here, you of course have a river that is fundamental to the life of this city, in that you drink it. The water that you drink comes from that river. So that connection immediately is something vastly different. Because if in Glasgow we were drinking the Clyde would not look like it looks. And because you drink the both, it has to both seem natural, it has to a large extent be very clean and as natural as it possibly can, and it has to be protected. And you can see what's happening here is that a lot of what makes the bow so attractive and such a wonderful resource within the city is that people really want to protect it. People do not abuse that river, or at least it appears that they don't abuse that river. I'm sure everybody's seen something happening. We saw some people peeing in the end. But the funny thing is that they got out of their raft to pee in it because they were drinking beer floating down. Obviously they got to a point of like, oh, what do we do? So they all got out. We were sitting on the bank, and we think, what are these guys up to? And then they kind of went, hey, sorry guys, do you mind? We just really need to. And then one of them was sitting in the boat and going, hey guys, that's just not on. That is just not on. This is the river. We've got to drink out of this. Kids play there. And so there's this, clearly they were guys wanting to have a good time, but at the same time, they were having to remind each other. There's a bigger connection to this river than it being a place you dump your waste. So again, I do go on. So I don't know if that kind of answers the question, but I think it gets to the root of some of the things that I think are fundamentally different. But in that, it is very managed. It's a managed river, and I think it tries to look as natural as possible. But I think that one of the things that you see from the flood is that how it's being managed suffered greatly. The human interventions that have been put into the river to make it do what the city needs it to do were some of the things that got most badly damaged. Because in a way they sort of don't fit with what the river wants to do when it's doing, when it's in major flood. So I think there are kind of interesting things in that as well.
I think it's just to add, I think it's what's really interesting about the residencies, it's both first impressions, but then the kind of growing depth that, initial impressions, gosh, look at this really pretty river, but then you're aware of the manufactured nature of it. Gosh, it's a river that people can touch and go on and float down, whereas you don't want to do that in the Clyde, it's not inviting, but there's also railings that stop you even peeking over. But I think it's kind of also a sort of cross-fertilisation of that, because when we went back to Glasgow after our first visit here, my thinking about the Clyde had changed, and then I came back again, so it's sort of, there's something wonderful about being put in a very different context, and Calgary is so different. I mean, Rachel and I were talking about that earlier, just how different it feels from Scotland. It kind of unsettles a whole load of things. It is really, really rich, I think, hopefully for what we'll bring here, but also what we take back.
Right. So there's a exploration of water and of the human element are kind of the two things that you specialize in. Is that right? So with the human element, is there a difference that you notice yet, or is it too early?
I would like to generalize. I think that thing about I mean, it's kind of human water interrelations. So that closeness, we went on a float down the hill, which was fantastic. But imagining just being able to do that. When we arrived at first and Tristan was telling us that people do this, we were like, no, really? And then you just see, everybody gets a raft, and some of them are slightly more better put together than others. But actually, just that sort of feeling that you can play with your. I'm not quite sure how to articulate it, but it's something up the wilderness and the urban and the wilderness.
There's a different connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, we found fascinating one thing. Rachel was fascinated by this as well, which is that as you float down the boat, there are people just put seats out. And this is clearly something that people do. They go to the boat and they sit and watch it, whether they're reading or whatever. But it's a kind of fundamental thing. It's continually moving. It's something that, and I'm gonna hazard something here. I think you're a long way from the sea. I think the sea can be very important in people's lives when they live near it. And you've got the Rockies. You've got this thing you can see on the horizon, which could be like a coast. But you've also got this one waterway, or two waterways, you've got the Elbow as well. But you've got these two waterways, and there's something that just seems to about those that just pulls people towards them. And these seats, and this is post-flood, and these are just little deck chairs, dotted around, and not even necessarily with people sitting. People have left them there, presumably for other people to sit in, or maybe it's somebody's favourite place to sit. But the amount of times I've heard people say, I just spend time looking at the river, or every day I spend 5 minutes looking at the river. It's a very interesting thing. That relationship, it seems absolutely linked. What we're now going to hopefully look at is sort of what the nuances in that linkage are, and how whether there's ways we can sort of explore that, because we feel it's a lot more than anything to do with the resource and anything to do with providing drinking water. We feel there are things that are much deeper that are in that.
I'm going to move on, but I wanted to ask a quick question about a message that was in one of the bottles that you showed. And it says basically, in a civilization without boats, dreams dry up, and espionage takes place of adventure, and the police take the place of pirates. I wonder what the backstory of that was.
It's a quote I came across from a writing by Michel Foucault, and called Heterotopias, or other spaces about heterotopias, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. It's been used quite a lot. But I just really like that suggestion that there's something about water and rivers and existing boats that's kind of evades. I mean, you can argue against this, but kind of it's as a metaphor, maybe sort of evades constriction and licensing, and is a little bit, quite rebellious. But so there's something about that sort of idea of openness and the idea that rivers flow and move. They move through a city. They take you away. They're not stuck. They don't have boundaries around what they do. But so yeah, it's all these ideas. So we put those on the bottles that we handed out to people in Glasgow. We didn't tell them it was Michel Foucault from Heterotopias. but if anybody wanted to read that into that's a good film.
Well, flow moves nicely into Rachel, actually. So, Rachel, I believe you are the longest resident that we've had here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, which is great. But you came in the snow. I thought you'd come in June, but you must have come before.
No, I began the residency in October last year.
Okay, so you have been a long time.
I went back and then came back again and a few trips back and forth.
Yeah. So it may be a long while ago to ask what attracted you to the residency, but do you want to talk to that, or do you want to talk to what's been great about such the length of time to study and research? Whichever one you want to do. I think just get I'd like to get a sense of what the length of time has to do with making a residency better or interesting, what it does, where it takes the work. You highlighted a bit of it in your talk.
Yeah. I think having this amount of time just lets you really explore loads of different ideas without being forced to come to a conclusion too soon. Because the longer you have to explore and research and talk to people and take risks and make mistakes and just play with lots of ideas, and the more long term that process is, the more hopefully, well, I don't know where the end result is yet, which is amazing not to have to worry about it so much. And that's why the long term is a beautiful thing. Because you never really stop, whatever process you're in, even when we finish the residency, it's almost going to be the beginning of the next thing that we do that will just continue throughout our careers and our lives. You never really stop, and everything always kind of plants seeds that might not come out for a long time. But the longer you have, the more freedom you have to take risks, and the more people you meet and the more conversations you have. Yeah.
Well, and you talked about how you didn't think you would draw again, and then after I think this was after the flood, all of a sudden you're drawing again, or maybe it was during, I forget when you said that.
Yeah,
actually.
it was when I thought that I was just going to finish that drawing and move on to something else, but when the flood happened, I realised that I had to revisit the drawing because people were asking me about it again, because the drawing was suddenly historical. It was like taking a photograph of something that didn't exist anymore, so how could I keep that drawing relevant? And people were interested in it and asking me, so I kind of felt like I wanted to go back to it and keep working on it and stop it being some precious thing that could only be hung in a gallery, but use it as a working, living document that I could keep working on, and that would make it more interesting and relevant to
So
how people feel about what they're looking at.
the time shapes the process then as well.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a whole bunch of sketchbooks. They're really precious to me. Like they're like a document of where I started and what I'm doing now. Yeah, a lot's changed.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, Jay, my question for you is really, you can tell what you were attracted to about this residency, but I'm interested in the fact that you're a local artist. So does that change anything for you? Do you go someplace, there's a possibility to see something with a different light. When you're in the same place, does that affect anything or not? No. Maybe not.
Yeah. I'll talk about like what attracted Roy and I to this was a lot of our work, especially with mine, is always like sourcing out people that are specialized in a certain area. Whether it was like an operator for the high-speed camera or like someone that can operate a laser light. Those things are really hard to source out on your own. And Watershed plus Residency, you're granted access to like people that are specialized, like engineers and the like. So that's just gonna like bring that, well, just like that process is gonna be cut down in half. Exactly. And so that was, for me, that was really attractive, and for Rory too, because I mean, our last project, Talisman, we had the same issue where how do you find an engineer who can you come up to someone and say, can you design something that can spin glass around really slowly, and they just completely. But then they get on board, and you have there's kind of an interesting relationship that happens where this person has a very specific language they're using, and then we're coming at it from like what we know, but also what we're trying to get out of it. And that was just a really rewarding experience for us, Allison, working like that. To the point where like even like the engineer afterwards was just so happy about the product. Like afterwards, he was like, I should put this in my living room. So that was like a big factor for us that we knew that was going to help our work here. And then I guess like I didn't know much about like the water systems in Calgary. So it's just one of those things you take for granted. I think just growing up. I didn't grow up in Calgary. I've been in Southern Alberta, but I know Calgary really well. And yeah, it's just
So there was an attractiveness to learn something deeper.
Yeah, I think so.
Here. Yeah.
And like, like water could be maybe that, it's just like Iron Chef, like today's ingredient is water. So
Yeah.
maybe just figure out how to use water. But we always try to go like, for Lori and I, it's always about our relationship with landscape. And so that's where I think all our ideas for this residency are going to come from, like whether that's like road trips, like exploring outside of Calgary, but making sure there's a link to the city as well during this whole process.
You talked about having expertise, and I wonder if anyone wants to share any ideas or experiences of interfacing with water, staff, engineers, geologists, whomever you've interfaced, or is there something that was memorable to any of you in this access that you can do?
The big surprise for me is how into it all the water engineers are. Because I never really met a water engineer or really any kind of engineer. So I was worried I'd walk into a room and they wouldn't really get why I was there or what I might. But you just talk to them for a few minutes about what you're trying to do, and they're really interested and they're really into it, and they really want to give you as much information as they can, because they really care about their work, and they really want to help you articulate it in a different way and present it to people in a way that they perhaps haven't thought about it. And they're really into the emotional relationship they have to their work, and to the work that they give to the community. And they're really poetic the way they talk about it, which really, that's terrible to say, but I was quite surprised. That's just my ignorance, I suppose, about what these people how they think. They don't think that differently to the way I think about it. And they really understand, like, I was trying to create this visual language and create these rules to express something which people don't always see when they look at the way water moves. And they totally got it straight away, and that really impressed me. And they're continuing to help me develop it further. And they're giving up their time, even though they're exhausted from all the work they did in the club. They were working like 20-hour days for 20 days on the trot, and yet they've said the work that you're all doing is really important because we need people to. We want you to help us express to people how things are in whatever way you think's right. And I've just been really moved actually by the way people reacted to it.
Yeah, I think we have had fantastic access. I mean, we're not as far down the line as Rachel, but just when we got back, we had a talk from somebody at the city who's one of the main water engineers responsible for modelling the river, what it might do if a flood event happened, and then managing it like in the moment. And I think it was one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. Actually, it was fascinating, but also just like really moving and really, I felt kind of enormously privileged. And I think we were slightly hesitant about what we're going to do because obviously we were here before the flood and then come back, and we were really aware that we wanted to see whether the ideas we'd been thinking about needed modified, whether they would play out, whether they would feel raw or insensitive. And we're still kind of working that through. It's just, I keep sort of, if I'm communicating one going, this is just amazing, this is totally changing my conception and stuff that I've maybe engaged with sort of intellectually. I'm having a much more emotional and hit me in the face understanding of it. So it's, right, fantastic.
I'm on the last question here, and it's a big one, and I'm going to shrink it down. But the idea is really about art as agency, and how art, as it's allowed to be embedded in a system and within operations, how it allows influence to be different than if it's just topically allowed to create a vision or visible, identity sort of thing. When it's embedded, what changes with the practice? And I'm going to jump to you both, Lee, again for just a minute. How is the interdisciplinary nature of your collective works, how does that work as far as an agency? I mean, as far as creating meaning, creating something because you're working together. I could ask you about the Watershed Department, I haven't done anything yet, so I'm just not asking that one. But speak to whatever you wish.
It's a big question.
It is. Should I shut it down?
My answer is yes.
Yes. And I could just ask it differently. Is there anything from that has struck any of you from the idea of being so closely connected with engineers, so closely connected with what's the workings of the water system? Has that affected your work differently than if you were not working so closely? You're not just drawing pictures of water, you're actually learning about the flow, for instance, right?
Yeah.
You're learning where it goes, and you're learning about flow visualization. Right?
Yeah. No, it's completely turned it upside down in terms of trying to work towards, trying to use, that's been a really interesting thing for me actually, is normally I would intuitively draw something and try to make something beautiful. Now I'm using like raw data and rules and numbers and statistics to try and make something, and it's that which you would hope maybe is a beautiful thing because it's a real natural thing and it's part of a natural system. But then when you apply rules and then you try to intuitively draw it as well, this is only ever going to be a drawing, it's never going to be like, and I'm not an engineer, so it's always going to be just a drawing.
Yeah.
But it's finding that balance between keeping it a drawing, keep it intuitive, and something organic and subconscious. And where do those rules and those data come in, and trying to find the sweet spot to make it. And sometimes I've done stuff and it's been really ugly. And I've been really disappointed, but I've realised that's because I've been too conscious in the way I've treated the data, and I've forgotten that it's supposed to be a drawing. And it's trying to find that spot in between where it's kind of does both at the same time. It's quite hard. It's very hard. Might be impossible.
I think one of the kind of really important things is, for me, is that you're coming into something where there are genuine experts, and they're not just detached experts. They're people who care deeply about the work that they're doing, and because of that, you have to, as an artist, you've got to work a lot harder because the obvious stuff, it's done. They totally understand that. They want you to go further, and they want you to think about stuff more deeply, and to kind of what Rachel's explaining, that they have all this information. They know what it means, they know what it does, they know how it helps them run the city, and they still have an emotional attachment to what it means as well. So then it's like, how can artists, and not just us, all artists that come to Calgary and want to do work here, how can they think about ways that can maybe illuminate other things that these engineers and scientists and people haven't, they kind of know that there's stuff there, but they haven't necessarily got a way specifically of putting it out there, demonstrating it, putting it into some kind of form. And I think it's that, and I'm finding it really challenging because you absolutely can't, you can't start off on page one here. You've got to go a lot deeper than that, and then because you're not talking to people who know nothing about it. You're talking to people who've been absorbed in this, and you possibly have some of the best water engineers and people working in those fields in the world. So it's very challenging indeed, and really interesting for that.
necessary.
Well, I'm not in the residency yet, but I've done other residencies. And I think a big thing is like feeling that you're free to choose sometimes, that you need that freedom. Any kind of like micromanaging that may take place, I think will just dry up any creativity. So, and I get that impression just listening to like people that have already started that there's a lot of freedom, and that's refreshing for me. And definitely Roy. Yeah, so I think it's kind of nice to hear people talk about it.
You looking for it?
Yeah, definitely.
Like Nick was saying with working with specialists who've been doing this and been absorbed in this for so long, it kind of can bring you to a whole other place that is actually further than where you would have been at before, because you can tap into something that already exists, that's already very well figured out. They have the data and they have the tools and the instruments to kind of like, I guess, quantify all the systems within the water system. So it's like working, like basically you have access to any of that information. But the real tough part is how do you take that information and not just duplicate it in visual terms. So that's a real challenge, but I feel like we're just extremely fortunate to be able to have the access to that. Like it's not probably very common. So
Great lesson. Oh, sorry, I didn't ask any audience questions. Does anyone have a question? Yes. Sorry, I was expecting questions to be yelled out. Excuse me.
Where do people get water from to drink then, if it's not from the Clyde?
There are big reservoirs. There are big reservoirs that come from, up in the hills, and they're piped through to Glasgow. It was always seen in the kind of industrial building of Glasgow that the river was was going to be more vital to its industrial wealth. So they found a safe source of water elsewhere and built a big reservoir and then piped it in. So it comes from about, I think it's about 20-30 miles away.
It used to come from a lot of Captain with its Phillies reservoirs now, but I mean, it may be that some of the water from the Clyde does find its way in sorry, we're going the wrong way. It's further up the hills.
Yeah.
Yes, into other people's, other cities' water provision, other reservoirs, but yeah, it's separated out. It's purely piped into the city.
Yeah.
Will you introduce rafting to the Clyde?
I think people going, Minty once got drunk and ended up in a boat rowing down the Clyde. I think they probably were more concerned for her and sort of safety, and she fell into the water, not to drowning, but what releases she might get. But no, I mean we're just to be kind of really clear about it, there are several parts of the Clyde. The Clyde is on a huge estuary as well, which is a major sort of sailing and recreation place. But we're talking really just about that bit in the city. And the bit upstream of the city is actually used for, there's rowing clubs and things like that. It's relatively speaking quite a clean portion of the river. And the water quality in the Clyde is significantly better than it was in the 80s. I mean, there's fish, there's cormorants, there's bird life and stuff like that. Where the problem lies or the real kind of issue lies, is that the city doesn't know how to relate to it anymore, because it doesn't have anything that they're used to. And I think that's the kind of fundamental thing is difficult. And part of that is absolutely what you see in the pictures, is that it's not accessible. It's not made accessible. There's no way to get down to it. You can't sit on the shore of the Clyde. There is no shore in the city. But also it's about how the urban development has worked and how the urban development has looked away from the river. And so it's a big thing. Will there be rafting on the Clyde?
I think that Stevie's point behind that is in a way, yeah, I'd love there to be rafting on the Clyde. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when I borrowed the boat one evening with a couple of friends, not Nick, it was an artistic intervention. It was a statement. You want to touch this water? But I think there is a serious point, not behind it, not behind my drunken excursions, but behind that idea of it's a living force. It's a thing that has a vitality, which you're all too aware of in both positive and less positive ways here. But people in Glasgow don't really think about this. It's this inert kind of body of fairly grubby water that you're not allowed to get close to. You're positively discouraged from getting close to. So yeah, bring on the rafting.
bring on the rafting. Sadly, the Clyde is still known more for suicides. That's kind of what the public perception is. It's where people go to commit suicide.
A little bit all over the place, but it seems like some of you have come here from residencies and some of you are first time to residencies. Who's kind of vetting the work, and is there an outcome? Is it so loose that there is no outcome? Does it trickle down to your own practices, or does it result in a specific public piece? I'm kind of curious about what the outcome is and who's vetting it, and is it for a particular audience, the public, your own practice? Can you just tell me a little bit about that?
I mean, I think Tristan kind of laid out this sort of, the very loose but still specific brief that we have, that we have to create new work. It has to engage with the public, and correct me if I'm wrong, and it has to engage also with the water infrastructure. So, and we are working, I wouldn't use the word vetted, but we've had a lot of support and sort of critical engagement from Tristan and Charles and Heather and lots of people in public art and of course all the engineers and everybody who are very much our critics as well, I think. Sid from Ralph Klein Park, I see at the back there, and various people that we've met, so we feel we've got a real responsibility, but we don't feel like we're being vetted, I don't think. But yeah, just me.
I think in terms of outcomes, I think again what makes these residencies, Lindsay and I could have been on residencies, we've just never chosen to go on residencies. This was the first one that came up that we went, that both fits what we're looking at the moment, but also is the kind of residency that we would want to go on, which is something that's not, it's not about studio-based practice, it's not about producing a particular thing at the end, but what it is, and what's really embedded in it, is about you moving on your practice. And doing that, in terms of outcomes from Lindsay and I think what will be here in Calgary, what we'll do here in Calgary, will be a starting point to work that we'll do over the next number of years. Because that's the nature of how this has been set up. We're investigating things and we're working. So I'm hoping that we'll do stuff that's really interesting, because that's going to start a springboard for us. I can't talk for anybody else in that, but certainly we're not going to create a piece which Calgary will have for a number of years. Anything that we do will be for the people who engage with it at the time that it's happening. And then it will become a memory or a trace or whatever. Or whatever, yes.
I should probably add just from a
lead artist perspective, the idea is that you do give people that freedom to make new work with those three clear objectives. But overall, the rationale for it is that you're inviting artists to look and think, which is complementary to the way that the water services and water department do it, and how their communications department express what they do. So it is supposed to be an inquiry-based residency, but there's very clear deliverables, if you like, because it's working through the city. And all of their work, whether it's through exhibitions, whether it's through events, performances, talks, however, is intended to be accessible and to be new work created in the city.
It's continual assessment.
There's a question in the back?
Yeah, I'd like to posit that one of the fascinations that we have at the Bow is the fact that the Bow is life. And recently we had a huge expression of how wild it can be and uncontrollable, even though we thought we had it under control. And not to diminish at all the impact that it had on many people's lives living close to the river. I'm wondering, for those of you who have been here and had a chance to see it before and after the flood, I'm wondering if there have been some positive things that you've seen come out of this from any context. And for those who are waiting in the wings to be residents, I'm very curious about your impression of what has happened from afar in Calgary, or if you've been here, what's happened, what's your perspective on it, and what are the positive things that you might see out of what has happened in this flood.
Loads of positive things came out of it for me. Like, even though it was an overwhelming experience in terms of what you saw it do, how devastating. So to write about the city and how the river is still, you walk around it now, it's so different in places, it's just been torn apart. But like, the engineers, I think, expressed it the best when they kind of felt such mixed emotions about their experience. They were really articulate in the way they explained it to us. And they pretty much said that they've kind of been working their entire careers towards managing this event, and all the modelling that they've been doing, that they'd showed us previously, all the surveys that they'd done, where they expected the water to flow if the worst thing happened and how they would react to it, they got it pretty much spot on. And they were really, although they were kind of devastated by what happened, they knew that they'd got their jobs right. And they knew that mostly all the work that they put in, that nobody ever thinks about when the river's working and the levels are normal, like as it should be. Suddenly they kind of almost felt like they were justified in all the hard work that they've been doing for all these years, like preparing for this event. And so that was a positive thing that came out. And suddenly everybody knows about water services and what they do because of what's happened and how they react. So that was a really positive thing. And then just like seeing how people come together over the period of the flood, and like all the volunteer stuff that happened, and how everybody seemed to be helping each other out, and YCC help. Is it YC? I always get the letters in the wrong way. YYC help. So yeah. And the incredible reaction of the public help to the whole volunteering thing when it came to the clear up, like, kind of blew my mind quite a lot. Just like Calgary in general blows my mind, like artists helping each other out, just in general, like all the DIY stuff that they do here, that kind of mentality kind of really came to the fore during the flood. And it was really incredible to see the communities coming together like that. It's amazing. Yeah. It was lovely.
I think you kind of already sort of hit it in the head there, Sid. You were saying, the bow is life, and really what we've been thinking about in our last visit was very much this idea of water and rivers being lively and having a vitality and having force that we kind of, in our context back in Scotland, in Glasgow, we're not terribly aware of it until we try to do something stupid like lace together the banks of the river. But in a way, that, and it sounds awful to say it, but in a way the flood kind of did part of the work of what we were thinking about for us. It absolutely in a devastating and awful, and I don't want to minimise that at all or negate it, but it did something. It went, hey, I'm a river, and this is what I do. And the engineer who was talking to us about her experience, where she was saying, she said, what was it? She said, rivers need space to move. They need space to move around. And she'd just gone through this, working 20 hours a day for days on end. And she was saying, I still love the water. I absolutely took on passion. And it was, it's just doing what it does. It has to move around. And that, I feel kind of slightly, well, no more than slightly, I feel massively humbled in a way. And I think our challenge is now to go, okay, so what are we really working with here? What are we doing? What can we add to that? What as we as artists can do that elucidates that, or has a different perspective on it that you guys have not already kind of thought about and experienced? But I think that's positive because it's challenging.
I think at least for me, what was really interesting was that we were actually supposed to come the first time like the day after the flood happened. And we obviously had to cancel our flights, but before we did, like talking to Tristan and Heather, we were like, should we come? Should we not come? But just feeling the presence of like, oh my God, the river did this, but also adding to what Rachel was saying about watching it on the news from Windsor, like how the city came together and how fast everything like cleared up, and people helping other people, like that was our first impression coming into this residency, seeing like this disaster happen, but also seeing how the community can come together and fix it all. Obviously with the help of the Water Center and the engineers and everything like that, but just seeing, I feel like when a devastating natural disaster happens, you kind of see the best in cities, and when I say cities, I mean like people that make up those cities. So obviously the type of work that we do, that's so rich and important, and so it was kind of amazing for that to be kind of the starting point of, even before we came, what we were seeing exposed to.
It's almost hard to think that wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah.
There's going to be this event you're going to respond to.
It's not coincidental you call it broken.
It's not broken very well.
Anyone else have a question?
I'll just make a comment. I had the great pleasure to talk to all of these people last week, and I'm one of the nerdy water engineers. But I'm just so humbled by the way that you speak and how you become so connected to the river. And Rachel, I worked with you, and I'm just inspired by what you've done. And I find that myself and the person I work with, we have a real interest in rivers because they are alive and they are moving. And sometimes that's a little different than some engineering because there is no code book, and there's that balance between living close to it, enjoying it, yet respecting what it does. And so anyways, I think you guys are all in this amazing situation right now that your chance to connect with the public is fantastic because everybody's interest is on the river. And we spend so much time, hey, look at us, the river's really, important, and we don't, we're constantly challenged getting the message out. And I think that don't get overwhelmed with the amount of data I can spew at you, like back off. But it was more to let you know we have a lot of information, but just public doesn't need all that information, and sometimes it's hard for us as engineers to communicate that to public. So take a concept and keep it simple and find a way to communicate with the public. This is the most amazing opportunity there is to really make people stop and think about the river. So anyways, thank you guys. I'm so excited to see what you guys do. But don't get overwhelmed with this pressure. But just enjoy it. It's really neat. So thank you. Thank you.
We've come to reach our allotted time. I just wanted to thank you all for coming. Thank hugely the Art Gallery of Calgary for hosting this event. This is part of us sharing and expressing outward, and over the coming weeks and months, these artists will produce, and you will see their work in the city, you will see it in galleries, you will see it as interventions and acts throughout the city. The rest of Watershed Plus will also be making temporary and permanent interventions throughout the city, working with engineers. And the next Artists in Residence, the 2014 and onward, will be announced in a few months' time. So the way that we see this programme is it's an ongoing commitment to Calgary and an ongoing collaboration with the city's park staff, with the city's water staff, and with the public art team. And we hope to have many more events like this. So thank you ever so much for coming, and thank you all for offering so generously and being yourselves.
Sorry.
Yes, sorry.
If people